today's episode of the BOWTIEGUY Podcast, I want to share with you one of my great loves in education, one of my great loves in life. That is children's books. On today's episode, I'm going to share with you my 10 favorite books for children. Now, some of these books I grew up reading and loving, and you know what? When I became a teacher, I had to come to the understanding that I was a reacher, a preacher, a walking, talking advertisement for reading. And you know what? I've learned it's fundamental that readers make leaders. So I love colorful books. I love books that mess with my emotions. And these 10 children's books that I'm going to share with you today, hopefully they'll stir up some emotion in you and the nostalgia that perhaps maybe you had as a child and what you share with your students today in your classroom. So first and foremost, let's start with number 10. Why do mosquitoes buzz in people's ears? Now, I love the book. Verna Arterman did a great job writing the story, and Leo and Diane Dillon with the illustration, they rocked it. It's colorful, and it represents the multicultural aspects of Africa, because it is an African folktale that has been passed down through the ages. And it's a question, why do mosquitoes buzz in people's ears? Fantastic. And it actually won a Caldecott winner, Caldecott Award for its fantastic artwork. And, you know, the adaptation, the Weston Woods Scholastic adaptation, that it's on DVD and you can look at it on the internet. The story is actually narrated by James Earl Jones. And if you know anything about James Earl Jones, I think he's the voice of Darth Vader, and he has a tremendous voice for narration next to Morgan Freeman. Number 9 on my list is going to be Blueberries for Sal. Now, you're going to see this author twice on my list because, I'm sorry, it's just one of my favorite authors on the planet. Now, and it's old school. I remember one of the teachers that I used to work with, she was just like, are you kidding me? This guy's an antique. And this guy's passed away, many years ago. And the books that he published came out probably in the 30s, 40s, 50s. But to me, he checked me and wrecked me with the nostalgia, the innocence of childhood, and the beautiful artwork that he actually wrote and illustrated all of his books. Who am I talking about? Robert McCloskey. So at number 9, Blueberries for Sal. Kaplink, kaplunk. The story is just so beautiful. It's really innocent, and it really takes me back to my childhood, where I can distinctly remember my mother grabbing me by the hand, and we were walking through nature, over hills and through forests. And you know what? Like, it just takes me to that place. And so Sal is actually an employment of Robert McCloskey's family into the story. So Sal, I believe, was a child of Robert McCloskey. And so it's just an innocent story where a mother and her child, they're out getting wild blueberries, and then whoops, they bump into a mama bear and the baby bear, and it's just really funny. And so it's just cute, and my kids love it. And I don't know why, because it's I guess antiquated from the 1950s. You don't really see it that much in publication. I mean, it was a Caldecott winner, I believe, and it was popular at the time, but I just want to make sure that my kids have access to that wonderful book that means so much to me, and it's been a hit every year that I share it. At number 8, Kevin Henkes. He's one of my favorite, or Henkes. He is one of my favorite authors, and just one of the most beautiful, funny, cute, emotionally stirring stories. Chrysanthemum. I love Sarah Jessica Parker and her narration of the story in the Weston Woods adaptation of Chrysanthemum, where, Chrysanthemum, like, it's just such a long name. And so she gets ridiculed for it, but her parents come to her aid and really just, they defend her, but they also edify her and tell her that her name is absolutely perfect. That's how the dad sounds. And it just stirs up emotion. It's just an innocent, sweet caveat that students need to put in their tool belt in childhood. It's just a sweet story. And so Kevin Henkes, he actually employs a mouse or mice throughout the entire story, and you'll see that in many different books that he publishes. So number 7 on my list, I'm kind of cheating a little bit. I kind of have a thing for Maurice Sendak, and if you know anything about Maurice Sendak, well, Where the Wild Things Are, one of the most popular books in history for children, and is actually made into an adaptation of movie, motion picture. But that's not on my list. I actually have what is considered the pint-sized library, the pocket-sized library of the Nutshell children. Okay, and you're like, what in the Blue Moon of Kentucky is that? It's the Nutshell Library, and it includes 4 different stories, but the stories are short, sweet, to the point. They have little miniature lessons, but there's so much to it, and let me explain. Okay, now this was the first year that I really introduced it in my 3rd grade classroom in my reading block, and can I tell you that the fact that you have Carole King singing the lyric, I guess the lyrics or the written text of the books in song format, my kids were all over this, and if I'm not mistaken, it came out in the 70s. Late 70s, but you have One Was Johnny. That's a book that's in the set of 4. One Was Johnny. It's actually a book about counting. It's really simple. I would say it's probably for pre-K, kindergarten, 1st grade. But the kid, I just remember the entire class. They were like a choir. One was Johnny, and they were just singing along Carole King, and that stuff just like brings just a massive smile to my face. In addition to One Was Johnny, you have a cautionary tale, and it's funny because Pierre doesn't care about anything, and so at the end, a lion teaches him to care, and once again, it's in a song format. So Carole King rocks it, and it's easy to remember. So the kids, especially this year, they're singing along. And then in the set of 4, you have Chicken Soup with Rice. Chicken soup with rice. I mean, it's so catchy, but it's a review of the months, and then you have Alligators All Around, which is a review of the alphabet. Off the chain. Number 6 on my list is going to be The True Story of the 3 Little Pigs. Now, we've seen this story all over the place, but you know what? John Scieszka and Lane Smith, they're like a dynamic duo, and you know what? They rocked it. This book, if I'm not mistaken, is a relic of the 80s. Yes, it came out in 89, I believe. But I love the adaptation of it. I think that he did a fantastic job messing up the story and kind of giving credence to the wolf. I think his name is Alexander P. Wolf, but he tries to have a defense that it was all just a big misunderstanding. You know, why the houses were blown down and the pigs were eaten. Yeah, right. It's funny. The kids get all giggled up, and you know, it's a good story that is contagious with enthusiasm and laughter. Number 5. Oh, who do we have again? Robert McCloskey, Make Way for Ducklings. I had the opportunity to walk in Boston, where there's actually like a small little statue set of a mother duck and the baby ducks. The book actually takes place in Boston, and it's from the 50s, and you can tell from the illustrations in the text, but it is definitely timeless, and I love sharing it with my students. Number 4 on my list is going to be Martin's Big Words. Now, this was written by Doreen Rappaport, and she is a fantastic author who brings lots of biographies that are age appropriate to students. And you know, I love the representation of this story, the beautiful vocabulary that is employed, that is reflective of the life of Martin Luther King. Number 3 on my list is The Lost Boy by Mordecai Gerstein, and this is a story about the wild boy of Avignon, which I believe in France in the 1700s there was a feral child that turned up. And to make a long story short, he had to be really rehabilitated because he didn't know how to speak and he was animal-like. But anyways, it elicits tears every time I read it. I'm serious, because I can't keep it together because it's so sweet and innocent. Number 2 on my list, The Giving Tree by Shel Silverstein. Controversial book. No one really can put a tag on what exactly the true meaning is of the story. And that's what's beautiful about it. It elicits debate and it makes you think. Shel Silverstein did a great job here. And my number 1 book of all time, Time of Wonder, Robert McCloskey once again. He just elicits so many beautiful memories about childhood. And it's actually written in 3rd person. So it's as if like God wrote the story. It's beautiful. Thanks so much for checking in with me today. These are my 10 favorite books for children. Hit me up on Instagram, or you can email me at hortonedu@gmail.com, and I would love to hear, hey, what are your top 10 books for children? We'll see you in the next episode. Thanks for tuning in.